All right, let's talk about something that I'm sure drives a lot of parents crazy. Have you ever noticed that the discipline your kids learn in sports seems to stick with them forever, but the rules you set at home? Yeah, it's like they go in one ear and right out the other. Well, today we're going to dig into exactly why that happens. I mean, seriously, what is the deal with this? You've got a teenager at home who will argue with you about, well, just about everything. But then they get to practice, and when their coach says jump, they just ask how high. So what's really going on here? Yeah, this pretty much sums it up, doesn't it? The same kid who acts like picking up a dirty sock is the hardest thing in the world will get up before dawn to go run drills without a single complaint. It's wild. But listen, if this sounds familiar, it is absolutely not a sign that you're failing as a parent. It all comes down to psychology, and that's what we're going to unpack. So first up, let's look at this thing we're calling the discipline paradox. Because before we can really understand why sports discipline is so powerful, we have to figure out why the rules at home can feel like they're just constantly falling apart, especially during those teenage years. Okay, now this might sound a little bit backward, but what if I told you that all that defiance isn't actually a bad thing? When your teen pushes back against you, they are, on a deep level, testing your unconditional love. They do it with you because they know you're not going to kick them off the family team. So in a weird way, it's actually a compliment. It means they feel safe enough with you to push those limits. And this really gets to the heart of the matter. It all comes down to motivation. See, at home, the rules are usually extrinsic. It's all about avoiding punishment. Clean your room or you're going to lose your phone. But in sports, that motivation completely flips. It becomes intrinsic. They're not doing it because they're afraid of being punished. They're doing it because they want to get better. And that is what builds a true internal compass. So this brings us to the real secret sauce of why sports discipline is just so effective. It's got nothing to do with punishment. It's about something way more powerful and way more immediate: natural consequences. So what in the world is a natural consequence? Well, it's pretty simple. It's the direct, unfiltered result of something you did or didn't do. There's no parent stepping in to hand out a penalty. The sport itself, the physics of it, the rules of the game becomes the teacher. Let's make this crystal clear with an example from boxing. So picture this. You're in the ring. You're getting tired, your arms feel like lead, and you let your guard down. You drop your hands. And bam, you get popped with a jab. It's not the coach punishing you. It's not personal. It's just immediate physical feedback from the sport. And let me tell you, you learn that lesson in a split second. You see, that constant, instant feedback loop is what builds that internal compass. The athlete starts to understand that discipline isn't some arbitrary rule their parents made up. No, it's a requirement for success and for safety. The drive to improve starts coming from within. Okay, but it's not just the sport itself, is it? There's another huge piece to this puzzle, and that's the coach. They play this massive role, and they often succeed in ways that, let's be honest, we as parents sometimes feel like we can't. Psychologists have a name for this. They call a place like a gym a third space. So home is your first space. School is the second. But this third space is a vital community where a teenager gets to forge an identity that's all their own, completely separate from being a son, a daughter, or a student. And in this third space, the coach has a totally different kind of authority. A parent's love, that's a given. It's unconditional. But a coach's respect and approval, whoa, that has to be earned through sweat and hard work. So in that coach, this objective, chosen mentor gives feedback on something like attitude or grades. It just lands with incredible weight. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking, especially when we're talking about a sport like boxing. What about aggression? Let's just tackle that question head on. It's a totally fair and common concern for parents, right? You might be thinking, my kid already struggles with some of this stuff. Won't putting them in a ring just pour gasoline on the fire? Well, here's the amazing part. Almost all the evidence and all the experience from these programs shows the exact opposite is true. It doesn't create more aggression. It channels it. And the way it does that is actually pretty fascinating. It really happens in 3 stages. First, it provides a physical outlet. That heavy bag is a safe, constructive place to just let out all that rage and adrenaline. Second, it requires intense focus, which basically acts like a moving meditation. It silences all the other noise in their head. And third, and this is the real game changer, they learn that uncontrolled anger is a weakness. Strategy beats rage every single time. True power comes from a calm, calculated mind. So, when you put this all together, what's the big takeaway? We've moved way past just getting a room cleaned. We're talking about building a skill that can last a lifetime. And this is where the entire idea of discipline gets a rebrand. It stops being this negative thing, this rule you have to follow just to avoid getting in trouble. Instead, it becomes a tool, a powerful tool that you get to use to build the life that you want. You can almost think of the gym as a laboratory. And in that lab, your kid is building a discipline muscle. And once that muscle gets strong, they start to realize, hey, I can use this anywhere. They use it to study for a test, to manage their time, to handle a tough conversation. It becomes part of them. So the ultimate takeaway is really a shift in perspective. Discipline isn't about control, it's about empowerment. It's not a rule, but a tool. And that leaves us with one final question to think about. How are you helping your child find their lab to build theirs?